Hey, you liberal fruitcakes! Minimum wage! Let's talk about it! One of the biggest financial complaints I hear coming from the left is that of minimum wage and the desire to raise the minimum. This, they say, is an effort to more accurately represent the required living standards. But let's look at the history of minimum wage and what it was actually intended for. The Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 established minimum wage. This was done under the presidency of Franklin D. Roosevelt and was set at 25 cents. So what was its purpose? 1. It was set to prevent exploitation, meaning companies could not pay excessively low wages, particularly when there was no competition from other companies, i.e. monopolies. 2. Its goal was to reduce poverty. It tried to help low-income earners be able to afford basic necessities. 3. The economy. They believed the higher wages would increase higher spending, meaning more economic growth. It's the economy, you dips! 4. There wasn't a fourth one, I just wanted to do that again. These were the intentions of the act. Its main purpose was to make sure that you could afford basic necessities. The key word, necessities, not luxuries. It was never really intended to be able to support a family. That wasn't why it was written. Now back then, many minimum wage jobs were able to support families, and wages raised at the rate of inflation. But then it stopped, and that puts us in the predicament we have today. I can wholeheartedly agree with every single person that wages have not kept up to the rate of inflation. But the government intervening does not help anybody. In fact, in many cases, it negatively affects people and it does not fix the problem. Why, you ask? Quite simple. Minimum wage kills competition in a capitalistic society. Now, I know you guys are going to cry, capitalism, we hate it! Capitalism has raised more people out of poverty than any other form of economic government. But what do I mean that it kills competition? Look at California. They wanted to raise their minimum wage to $20 an hour. And your mom and pop shops that everybody wants to support suddenly gets hit with a massive increase of the minimum wage and goes under because they can't afford it. Many of these big box stores and big corporations will just eat the cost because they're all paying about the same. Or they'll pass it on to the consumer, which is their right. And what happens then? Sales go down because the product becomes more expensive. Because human capital is the single most expensive thing for a business. This results in higher costs for the company, lower profit margins for the company, higher costs for the consumers. So that company, in order to not eat it or pass it on to the customer, lays off employees. Because the government artificially raised wages rather than letting capitalism handle it itself, which is the better option, allowing the free market to dictate wages. With guardrails, of course, to prevent exploitation. But the reality is you're not entitled to be an employee. And by being employed by a company, you enter into an agreement that they will pay you a set amount, with whatever benefits they are required by law or choose to for tax breaks. If you don't like that agreement, in a free market society, which we are, you can leave. It's their company. Don't try to have the government enforce it. Just leave them. They'll go under. Or there will be people who choose to work that kind of job with that kind of pay. Now let's just say you get what you want. You get the pay raise you want. They don't lay you off, but they choose to raise the prices on everybody else. What do you think people are going to do? They're going to raise the prices of their goods and services, which means your minimum wage buying power remains the same. Raising minimum wage in today's society doesn't fix anything. It just raises the cost. So now let's look how Republicans want to fix this. The reality is it's really hard to bring the prices of goods and services down. And goods and services climb at a far faster rate than they can ever come down. So the best option is to incentivize, not require, companies to pay better by giving them tax breaks, or to put money in your pocket by no tax on tips, by lowering or eliminating income tax. The reality is it's going to be more lowering than eliminating. It's really hard to eliminate things. Or no tax on overtime, while still letting companies incentivize overtime. This increases your buying power without actually raising the wage. Because like I said, minimum wage was never intended to be able to provide for a family. Only necessities. And that doesn't mean quality necessities. It might mean for shelter you have to share a house with a bunch of people. It might mean that you don't get an iPhone and you buy a flip phone instead with a pay for minutes to cover the necessities. It might mean you buy a junker car. It might mean you bicycle. But the culture of minimum wage has shifted, and the way you can gain economic security The only way is to take self-responsibility and change your circumstances. Because the reality is, as much as we want to, society's not going to fix that for you. Have a good day!